Shalom, 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 Israel. First off, giving all honor and praises to Yahweh and to his son, Yahweh Shah. We're Battle Axes of the Most High, coming to you with another first week breakdown. We say to kind of get brothers and sisters in the spirit and to keep them in the spirit throughout the week. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, shalom to brothers and sisters that are tuning in online. We had a great Shabbat yesterday, man, great class. You know, we kind of want to feed off of that spirit that Captain Maccabees was going at yesterday, because these are the things that brothers and sisters need to stay in tune with, stay in the spirit with, you know, dealing with that spirit of Judas, that spirit of betrayal, and dealing with brothers and sisters that secretly sow discourse. So that's the name of today's class. That's what we're going to touch on. The name of today's class again, Secretly Sowing Discord. Secretly sowing discourse. Because the Most High God commands us as a nation of people to do what? To gather ourselves together. But even within that, he knows that, guess what? Our people still coming up out of wickedness, 30, 40 years of being wicked. And we still have to abide by these commandments to shake these spirits up off of us. You know, we constantly have to do. There's no way around it. Because things don't come up in this truth. But the thing is, you want to deal with these things according to the scriptures. That's what people are not doing. That's what people are not applying. You know, that's what we always say, apply what's being taught in the truth. Brothers and sisters sit up, they listen to the class, but then when the situation come up, they don't apply the scriptures properly. You know, that's our job in the nation of Israel, to be watchmen, to watch out for things like that. And to, guess what, stomp that out. Bring the scriptures, bring the correction to get brothers and sisters back on track. So the first precept we're going to go to is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. It says, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." So the Most High God said that is a good and a pleasant thing for brothers and sisters to dwell together in unity. You know, that's one of the things that we lack as a nation of people. You know, other nations, other countries have those things, but us as Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we don't have that. We don't have that as a nation of people. We don't have that collectively. You may have little groups here and there. We damn sure don't have it to the need that it needs to be in this truth. I'm going to read that again from the top. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." Now, the unity that it's talking about is going into what? Going into the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, because you don't think that prophets or brothers and sisters didn't have offenses in the truth back then. But one of the things that they did was what? Apply the scriptures. That's why we have laws concerning silver matters, on how you give restitution to your brother. We have laws concerning moral laws, on how you deal with your brethren and with your sister. Things gonna come up, but you always want to make sure that you apply the scriptures, and you never want to secretly sow discourse among sisters, pitting brothers against brothers, pitting sisters against sisters. And people know the devices that they use to do these things. Let's not play the games. You know the devices that you use. You know what you're doing when you're doing these things. You know the intent that you have behind it. The intent behind it is to be ill will toward your brother, toward your sister. If you have any ill will toward that brother, that sister, what should you do? You should always apply the commandments. Always, man. We're going to cover these things today. Get a precept real quick. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. Like I said, not going to be a long class, but you know, we always want to hit on little snippets and certain spirits that may come up, that may not come up. But brothers and sisters that have the precepts on how to deal with those things. And if brothers and sisters have a problem with dealing with these type of spirits, guess what? You need to pray, you need to fast, you need to meditate on these scriptures that we're bringing out today. These are the things, these are the weapons to be able to combat those certain spirits. Now, you may have disagreements among different brothers from different camps. You know, like we say, we love all our brothers, man. We may have disagreements with how what brothers teach, but when in fact we know that we all Israel and we know that we got to keep the commandments. So we want to always make sure you just keep it cordial. Keeping it cordial is doing what? Saying shalom to your brother or sister. You may not physically have to do and be with them on certain levels or have unity camps with brothers, but you can still acknowledge like, hey, shalom, brother. You know, hey, shalom, sister. And do what? Keep that thing pushing, man. You know, a lot of times that be the best way to get through some of these things that we deal with, man. It don't necessarily mean that you have a grudge with your brother because you don't want to do a unity camp with the brother. What scriptures say that? You know? But guess what? We just going to adhere to the scriptures. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. It says, in 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors. Let me read that part again. It says, in 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brother. And this is a precept that brothers can pull or put next to Psalms chapter 133 and verse 1. Because it's saying the same thing. So we hear a lot of times that guess what? The Apocrypha is not in the Bible. Well, Sirach is saying the same thing that King David was saying. Saying the exact same thing. Those things beautify a nation when you have unity amongst brethren. When you have unity amongst sisters. You know, it can be nothing more beautiful. Because we hear it all the time. When people want to bring up things, well, black on black crime is at an all-time rate. Y'all kill more people than the police officers kill. You know, and to an extent, they're right. You know, and an extent is because our people are not keeping the commandments. Even for brothers and sisters that's in the truth. They know these scriptures, but then when it comes time to apply these things, they're not doing these things. So that's why you may see turmoil in certain camps, or with certain brothers, or with certain sisters, because they're ultimately not applying the scriptures. It's always a breakdown somewhere. I'm going to read this again from the top. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. Because a lot of times people thinking when they're sowing discourse, just because men don't see it, don't mean that the Most High God is not seeing that thing. You know, he watches everything. You know, he has an angel recording everything that you do. Matter of fact, let's hold that precept. Let's go to that thing. Just flip over a couple of verses, a couple of chapters. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 23 and verse 19. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. It said the Most High God seeing everything. And even that last part is shoulder hit, considering the most secret parts. Meaning what? Even going into the thoughts that you may have in your own mind. Secretly thinking those things up, because in order to put forth the action of discourse, it must first come through your mind first. That's where it first is conceived at. And a lot of times brothers and sisters know those scriptures to pull for when you what? Don't have discipline over your thoughts. When you don't have discipline of your spirit. Brothers and sisters know those things. When you have a war in your mind. These are all things that we want to cover today. But let's go back to Sirach chapter 25 and verse 1 again from the top. This is the book of Sirach chapter 25 and verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brother. So that's a beautiful thing. It says the love of neighbors. Now we know who your neighbors are. Your neighbors is not the other nations according to the scriptures. According to Christianity, your neighbor is every damn body. Hey, your dog can be your damn neighbor according to them. But we gonna biblically prove who your neighbor is. Let's get that. Hold your precept. Let's go. So our main precept we love to pull, man. Leviticus chapter 19 verse 17. Let's see who your brother and who your neighbor is. You know, we have to pull it on a Hamite preacher out there yesterday, you know, because he had been taught Christianity by Esau and so forth and went to their cemetery schools. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. So that's a commandment for you not to hate your brother in your heart, man. You know, you may have disagreements, but the Bible said don't have hatred towards your brother, your sister, and it's true. And like we said, even what we talked about in class yesterday, why would you want to deal in those types of spirits? Those are the spirits that we did when we was in the world. We need to constantly be trying to shake off these spirits when we come into this truth. You know, because like we say, we in more judgment for people that don't know about the truth. You're in more of the judgment. Here, you knowing the truth, been keeping the truth for what, 2, 3, 4 years now. You should know certain things, brothers and sisters, shouldn't be privy to. Now, I understand certain spirits take longer time to get out, but guess what? You need to be trying to shake those things in haste. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. So it's telling you your brother and your neighbor, and not suffer sin upon them. Because when we see brothers and sisters going off, it's our job to do what? To correct them. That's what the word rebuke means. You know, if you're not correcting your brother, you're not correcting your sister, you don't love them. And this adds on even to the class. If brothers and sisters are knowing that brothers and sisters are sowing discourse among brethren and sisters and not standing up, that's a problem, man. And you're going to be judged for that thing, man. Like, we're all held accountable for what each other do. That's how we make each other stronger. That's how we stamp out evil in the nation of Israel, man. A lot of times, like we say, you want to be your friend. You want to be a friend to somebody that you know and doing wicked. That ain't how the Bible is rolling, man. That's not how the Most High God is rolling. You know, just imagine Christ knowing all things. Lord will, we make it to the wilderness, and these things come up. You're going to have to deal with that thing on Christ, man. Brothers and sisters over here murmuring. Sisters over here murmuring. Oh, they don't like this leadership. Or brothers don't like who Christ has set up. You're going to have to see the king on that thing, man. Because you know, brothers and sisters, they never want to do wickedness by themselves. So they always have to get people to tag along with them. You know, be bold and do that wickedness on your own, man. You know, be bold in that manner. You know. But that's why we try to prepare brothers and sisters for those type of spirits that will try to drag you along. That person's or that brother's sister's job that see the sowing of secret discourse is to do what? Rebuke that sister. To rebuke that brother. Nah, brother, that's not how we did. If you got a problem with that sister, apply Matthew 18 and 15. If you got a problem with that brother, apply Matthew 18 and 15. These are the things that we must apply as a nation of people. I'm going to read this again from the top. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. So it's letting you know, we done went over this many times, but we know we have to keep reiterating these things on multiple levels. The first level is showing you who your neighbor, who your brother. Your neighbor, your brother is the children of your people. That's the first understanding. The second understanding is, guess what? It's our job to rebuke or to correct one another when we see brothers and sisters going off. Like we say, especially when you see in secret discourse. Because like I say, brothers and sisters try to get friends with you just to get information about you. You know, you have to have a type of spiritual discernment to know what those things are going into and do what avoid those things. Or bring the correction to that brother or to that sister. It says, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. Because a lot of times that's where that's where discourse come up from bearing grudges. But the scriptures tell you on how to deal with grudges. I go to that brother, that sister, what would be so hard than applying God's law, statutes, commandments? Matthew 18 and 15. What would be so hard? The only thing that I physically could see is that you know that your ass is wrong. Salaki, you know that your butt is wrong and you don't want to be called out on that thing. You know. But what would be so hard? This is how, guess what? We handle situations when they come up. And the brothers need and the sisters need all the practice that they can get. It says, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbors as thyself. We also want to touch on that. If you wouldn't sow discourse among your own damn self, why would you sow discourse among brethren and sisters? You know, the Bible commands us to treat our fellow Israelite brother, our fellow Israelite sister as you would yourself. This holds us accountable on everything. You knowing you wouldn't lie. Well, we can't say that because captains bring that out all the time. Brothers lie to themselves. Now, I'm going to tell you, it goes to another thing. You may not think that yourself is nothing. You know, and that's ultimately why you treat people like that. But that's where we have to get back to, guess what, putting self-esteem back into our spirits as well through the scriptures. You know, because I know a lot of times our people, as a nation of people, we lack self-esteem. You know, because we've been beaten down so hard. But we don't want to lose the point. The point is you want to treat yourself You want to treat your neighbor as you treat yourself, brothers and sisters. Like we say, even like what Captain Yara was going into it, brothers and sisters hold themselves individually accountable, then guess what? You won't see none of these things apply as a nation of people. Because everybody's fighting their own battle. Then guess what? We can help fight each other's battles when we even come together. So your neighbor, your brother is the children of your people. Let's go back to the book of Sirach. Here's the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. In three things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. And that's something to stand up for. When you see your nation back in order, when you see a congregation clicking on all cylinders, man, that's something to be beautified for. You know, we want to show the Most High that guess what? We can do these things, man. We can come back as a nation of people and serve him according to the scriptures, man. But sometimes, like we say, certain spirits don't want to do that. You know, hey, I understand. Like we say, this truth ain't given to everybody. That was a class that I originally was going to go into. You know, but I kind of wanted to feed off of Captain Maccabee's class. You know, this truth ain't for everybody. And we know that there's certain people out there that is appointed for obedience. You know, it says, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together. Because this is another form of discourse too, when a husband and wife are not on one accord. You know, Satan will always certainly want to destroy that marriage. You know, want to destroy the brotherhood, want to destroy the unities of sisters. They almost certainly, and like we say, Satan is an anxious spirit. You know, so he knows the things that rattles your spirit. So he's going to use those things at all costs against you. We go to the go to Psalms, chapter 6 and verse 16. The one we pull all the time, like we say, just a milk class, just to touch on some things. Just a milk class. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 6 and verse 16. It says, these 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. It says a proud look. So we know the Most High God hate a proud look. You know, brothers and sisters thinking they're all that, you know, because you obtain a little bit of knowledge. The Most High God don't like that. We leave that to Esau. That's Esau's characteristics. That have never been our characteristics according to the Bible, man. We let the Most High God boast for us. We let that aura of us keeping the commandments boast for us. Should never be the ones, because if you got to tell somebody you the S-H-I-T-A, then you really not that, man. We should never want a proud look in this truth. And we see brothers get puffed up in this truth. Most High God is giving you this knowledge. You know, Most High God is setting up brothers, setting up congregations. Sometimes brothers do get puffed up. But brothers got to always remember to keep a humble and meek spirit. Apply the scriptures, man. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 16, again from the top. It says, these 6 things that the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him, a proud look, a lying tongue. So the Most High God hate liars. Yes, God does hate. This is another point we're going to address too, because we deal with this all the time. When people saying that the Most High God don't hate, they obviously had never read the Bible, man. You know, they have obviously never read the Bible, because it's literally telling you 6 things that he hate, and the 7th thing is an abomination to him. It says, a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. So you know why he have a hatred for Esau, because according to the scriptures, we are the innocent. It says, an heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. This is something that our brothers and sisters deal in all the time. And we know that, guess what? That thing starts from the heart. Let's get a quick precept right quick. Book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 21. Let's see what your heart is according to the Bible. This is the book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 21. It says, from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts. So we know that your heart does nothing but pump blood. So the thing that does the thinking is your mind, and it's telling you from within your mind proceed evil thoughts. Like we say, before you set that discord, you done thought about that thing, man. You done sit there, you done took the time to think about it, you done took the time to see, how can I do this without really not being seen? You know them sneaky brothers and sisters that's out there, man. The person that I get to play along with me, are they going to be down for the cause, or is they going to say something? So these things take time to, guess what, plan. You know, these things take time to be thought upon. Again, from the top, this is the book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 21. From within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries. Because we know, even with brothers and sisters that are committing adultery, you have to take the time to literally set that up. Well, my husband is not going to be here at this such and such time. Well, my wife, she go to work at this time, so come around that time. You know, that's how the evil thought starts. It says fornication, meaning what? Sexual desires, sexual sins. It says murders. It says thefts, covetousness. Because covetousness is something that brothers and sisters deal with on a day-to-day basis. Wanting what someone else have. You know, I just got to have it. I bet if the Lord gave it to me, I could wear that thing better. I could drive that thing better. I could decorate that house better. I could do this better. Brothers and sisters shouldn't be dealing in that type of spirit. Because if you're sincere about this thing, about putting in work in the truth, guess what? The Most High God will eventually build you up to where you can play your part in this truth. Everybody has an individual part to play. Everybody has an administration in this truth. You just have to wait for the Most High God to bless you with that thing. Then you would know if it's of the Lord or if it's on your own wicked devices. How you would know is because that thing will last. If it's of you, that thing won't last. It says theft, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, and evil eye. Because we know that that's part of the curses. That's part of the curses in the book of Deuteronomy, one that we pull all the time. Matter of fact, let's get that. Hold your precept. As we say, the class that we did a couple weeks ago, precept upon precept. You know, here a little, there a little to give the answer. This is the book. So like your brothers and sisters, y'all know, let me say, they actually read my Bible, so that mug is towed up. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 54. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, meaning very soft, you know, very emotional, because we have those things that come up in congregations. You know, we get on the sisters about that all the time. Yes, we know sisters are emotional creatures, but like we always say, don't let your emotions dictate your spirit. You know, don't let your emotions rule over you. And some brothers too, there's some soft brothers that's in the truth, man. You know, we pray that those brothers build their spirit up strong to come back as lions and not as cubs. You know, we pray for those things. Again, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 54, again from the top. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. So we know that we have brothers and sisters that have evil eyes toward one another. You know, you see it. A lot of times brothers and sisters can feel the spirit, man. If you're a spiritual person, you can feel it, you know. But the thing is, if you have that, why not just address Matthew 18 and 15? You know, to guess what? Put that behind y'all. A lot of times people don't address it because they like to keep stuff going a lot of time. Our people are not used to peace amongst each other, so that's all they know. Well, like we said, man, that's going off like he mud. Because guess what? It's our job to first and foremost apply the scriptures. Most High God ain't just use the prophets to write these things down for his help. No, he wants us to literally apply these things so it makes our lives better. So we can have peace among each other. It says, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So this is something that would be passed down from generation to generation, because guess what? We don't know how to properly apply the scriptures. You know, and that's a problem in Israel. I'm going to go back to the book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 21, 22. Thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, and evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man. Meaning what? All these sin, all these iniquities come in. Dwell in your mind, then guess what? You finally put forth the action to do those things. That's not how we are supposed to deal in Israel, man. Let's go back to our previously thoughts. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 6, start at verse 18. and wicked heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. Because you know, a lot of times these things are what stir up discourse as well. You got a brother or sister that you think having wicked imaginations about you, you having those things. But like we said, all these things fall back to what? Treating your brother as you would treat yourself. It says, and wicked heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift into running to mischief. Now you always got that. You always got them little bitty feet. That guess what? That's running to hear the tea or to hear the gossip that comes up. Brothers and sisters shouldn't be dealing in that type of matter because you're running to those things and you ain't gonna do nothing but do what? Flames to that fire. It's our job to stamp out wickedness. You know, wickedness is a similar tool for the fires. It's our job to be spiritual firemen in this thing, man. And the water is the Bible. So when you see a fire come up, man, it's our job to do what? Let's get that water. You know, let's put that thing out, man, for that thing to spread. And then brothers and sisters will be all out of whack. We'll be no better than our brothers and sisters that's out there in the world not applying the scriptures. It says, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discourse among brethren. That's that seventh thing that's an abomination. Most High God hate that thing, man. When I brought out classes many months ago, going into that spirit of Korah. Even when you read in the Old Testament concerning Moses, Korah had that spirit. To where he wanted to set what? Discourse among the brethren because he thought he could lead the congregation better than Moses could, man. Now how the hell is that in the spirit when the Most High God literally set up Moses? So you thinking you're going to be a better pick than what the Most High God had already picked? Come on, man. Brothers, it's crazy, man. We want to make sure that you stamp out that spirit of Korah at all costs because that spirit causes what? Discourse. A lot of times that's what brothers and sisters are dealing in. And go to Proverbs. Go to Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 19. Like we tell brothers all the time, man, to be up on certain precepts, brothers that want to obtain certain precepts, certain middle precepts, I'm going to tell you what you should do. Brothers should always read the book of Proverbs and the book of Sirach. And like we say, Sirach is like advanced Proverbs. You know, those are good milk precepts. And there's a lot of meat precepts in there as well, but a lot of milk precepts that brothers should learn. You know, especially to be able to cut Esau and to use precepts to build up our brothers and sisters, man, in this walk. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26. I'm going to start at verse 19. So is the man that deceiveth his neighbor and said, am not I in sport? Meaning, ain't that a good thing? That's what the word sport is going to in the biblical context, being merry. It's going into, like we say, a man that's deceiving your brother, knowingly deceiving these things. Like you say, you want to throw a rock over here, then you want to hide, especially when the truth comes out. We ain't supposed to be being in that mountain. I'm going to read verse 20. Where no wood is, there the fire go out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. A talebearer is going into somebody that always keeps up gossip. That always, guess what? Have strife going. We know a fire is going into that strife. So if you, a talebearer is keeping up strife, keeping things going, or keeping gossip going, strife is not too far behind. It's not too far behind. That's what this scripture is telling us. Verse 20. Where no wood is, there the fire go out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. Like we say, the talebearer is going into the wood. The fire is going into what? Into the strife. It's our job as a nation of people not to, guess what? Deal in those type of matters. And we go over these things all the time. Let's get a precept. Hold that precept in the book of Proverbs. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 6. This is the book of Proverbs. The book of Sirach, Salaki, brothers and sisters. The book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 6. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife, and he that hateth babbling shall have less evil. This is the scriptures like how I like to title my apocryphal gossip precepts. You know, brothers and sisters, put a footnote over those things, especially for those gossip Betty Bonitas that's out there. I mean, y'all sure need to meditate on these things. And I ain't just talking about sisters, I'm talking about brothers too. Because guess what? Having that gossip type spirit is an effeminate trait, man. The Most High God didn't make men like that, man. But we know sometimes men can be the biggest gossipers, even more than the sisters. It says, he that can rule his tongue shall live without strife. And that's what the thing, we done plenty of classes on these things. Ruling your tongue. Having discretion, knowing when to say something, when not to say something. It says, and he that hated babbling shall have less strife. So you know the brothers and sisters that love to be around the tea, you just constantly sit back. Those are the ones that have a lot of strife going on, man. You know, a lot of times you have to learn to identify these certain spirits, and guess what? Get away from those spirits, man. Verse 7, rehearse not unto another that which is told unto thee. I'm going to read that again. Rehearse not unto another that which is told unto thee, and thou shalt fare never the worse. Meaning, don't be gossiping. A brother may have said this about this brother. If you know that's going to cause discourse, what should you do? Like the scriptures say, don't go tell it, brother. Don't rehearse those things. Don't go tell a whole bunch of people, because guess what? That's how you start discourse amongst one another. Let that brother, if he got a problem with that brother, what should that brother do that he's telling it to? Hey, brother, you need to go talk to that brother. You need to literally go and apply Matthew 18 and 15, man, and see if y'all can come to some agreement. Don't be cheering him on. Yeah, and what he do on that time? Yeah, brother, what he do on this time? Yeah, so what that sister do again? No, man. That's stirring the pot, man. That's kindling a fire. That's adding wood to that fire, man. It says, whether he be to friend or foe, talk not of other men's life. And if thou canst without offense, reveal them not. So if you know there's going to be a problem that's going to make things worse than what they should be, don't reveal those things, man. It's our job as a nation of people to hold each other accountable, to be there for one another. That's how we're literally being there for one another. So we're going to cover both. We're going to cover the talebearer, like how we're doing in the scripture, the person that's saying the gospel and the person that is listening to the gospel. Because guess what? Both of them have a role to play to stop discourse in the nation of Israel, man. Both of them got a part to play, man. It says, verse 9, for he heard and observed thee, and when time cometh, he will hate thee. So it is showing you what it leads to. It's showing you the effect, the after effect of if those things go forth. Brothers and sisters hear those things, then they what? Then they start to hate you. Then guess what? Matthews 18 and 19 never get applied. You know, then leadership have to get involved in that thing. You know, the Most High God wants y'all to go through these trials and tribulations. That's why these things constantly come upon our people, because what? We're not dealing with them according to the scriptures. It says, verse 10, if thou hast heard a word, let it die with thee, and be bold, it will not burst thee. So if you hear some gossip, the scriptures say, let it die with you. You know, it ain't gonna burst you, man. You know, that feeling, I just got to tell him, man. No, brother, you just got to stir the pot. That's what all that is. Meaning what? If you feeling like you have to tell or make matters worse, that means what? You have no control. You have no rule over first your tongue, and secondly, over your spirit. That's all that they're saying for the person that is listening to it that must go and tell. The thing that you should be telling them is what? Apply the scriptures, brothers and sisters. You want to tell something, tell the right thing. Don't tell the wrong thing, man. A lot of times our people get caught up in telling the wrong things a lot of the time. Because like we say, offense is going to come in this truth, man. Don't think that problems ain't going to come up, man. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 1. I know we covered this a little yesterday, and Captain Yara brought it out in verse 4, but we're going to start at verse 1. We know offense is going to come, man. You know, and the offenses is going into what? The trials and tribulation that the Most High God puts on in each of us. We see those things. Get that. Let me see. Salaki, brothers and sisters. Let me see. Salaki, brothers and sisters. Like we said, we know that offenses is going to come in the truth, but we always want to make sure that we handle them according to the scriptures. This is the book of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 1. Then said he unto the disciples, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. It's impossible. Things are going to come up in congregation. You may have a brother that don't too much get along with a brother. You may have a sister that don't too much get along with a sister. These things are gonna come up, brothers and sisters. Don't think just because you come into the truth, ain't nothing, you ain't gonna deal with nothing. Yeah, these things are gonna come up, man. There's no way around it. Let's see what this is real quick. These things are gonna come up. These things are going to come up. It says, then he said unto the disciples, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. Offenses is going to come in this truth, brothers and sisters. But the Bible is saying, if you're the one bringing those offenses, woe to you. Meaning what? Destruction to you, brothers and sisters, man. Because guess what? The Most High God is going to judge you on those things. We may not be able to catch every single minute things, but best believe the Most High God reveals a lot of these things to brothers, to the leaders of certain congregations. Don't think that he don't reveal it, these things, man, unto us. It says, I'm going to start again from the top. This is the book of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 1. Then said he unto the disciples, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones. Like we say, it's telling you, you might as well just put something around your neck and go jump in the Trinity, or go jump in the lake, or go jump in the ocean. It's better if you killed yourself. Because guess what? You didn't properly apply the scriptures. The scriptures is what? If you have a disagreement with your brother, go to that brother, man. Go to that sister. Talk about those things. Try to gain them. See where the breakdown was. See where the disagreement was, and try to gain that brother, sister. If that doesn't go well, go and get 2 more witnesses. Bring them back so they both can hear the cause. We're talking about 2 righteous witnesses. You ain't going to get nobody that you know going to be on your side and stuff, man. That's not righteousness according to the Bible. You know, that's even going back to the book of Proverbs 6 and 16. A false witness. You don't want to bring false witnesses. If those things don't work, then we bring it to the leadership. But the Most High God is giving you an opportunity to do what? Settle those things between one another before it gets bigger. That's the point. And many times we see with disagreements, brothers and sisters are not applying Matthews 18 and 15. They are not doing those things, man. About 95% of the time, they are not doing those things, man. We constantly see that. Go to the book of let's go to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 30. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 30. It says, strive not with a man without cause, if he have done thee no harm. A lot of times things come up, you got discourse that come up, you find out, brother, what did he do? Oh, he did this. Then you find out that it's unwarranted. Sister, what happened? What was the disagreement? Then you find out, and a lot of times we need to hear these things out loud, because then you see how petty it is when you hear it out loud. When we talk it in our head, it don't seem that petty. But when you hear that thing out loud, I know you kind of want to kick their own self in the butt. But damn, that was kind of petty. Did that warrant for this type of aggression? But did that warrant for this discourse? No, a lot of times we find out that those things warrant none of those things, man. A lot of times, like we say, that's a war that goes on in our brothers and sisters' own mind. A lot of the times, man. I'm going to find that scripture too. Bear with me a moment. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 14. The book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 14. It says, for a man's mind is sometimes wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen. So a lot of times Satan uses these things to his advantage. Oh, he said this. Oh, he said that. Well, what if they said that and said this? That's you communing with yourself, and guess what? These things are going on. Then when you hear the fact, when you actually apply the scripture, it turns out that that's not the case. This is basically going into you having a war in your own mind. Satan will do that because what? You didn't properly apply the scriptures. Like I said, you want to understand first, then rebuke. I'm going to read this again from the top. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 14. For a man's mind is sometimes wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in an high tower. Meaning what? Your mind is going all over the place. You know, a war within your own mind. You know the scriptures to be able to combat those things. Guess what? You ever have ask the Most High God to set scourges over your thoughts, to set scourges and discipline on your spirit. You got to pray for a spirit of discipline, brothers and sisters. Let's go to the book of Sirach. I quoted it. I want to read it. The book of Sirach, chapter 11 and start at verse 7. It's something we always tell brothers and sisters. This is the book of Sirach 11 and 7. Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. So it's our job, especially as leaders of congregations, to guess what? To get the whole matter. Get the whole matter, then bring the correction. Because a lot of times you don't want to prejudge the matter, because guess what? You could be wrong. If you're not gathering all the information, this trickle downs to everything. This trickle downs to brother on brother, and this trickle downs to what? Sister on sister. Get the whole information about what happened. Then you want to bring the correction or tell how you feel about the situation. But you don't never want to prejudge things, because guess what? This can lead to discourse amongst each other. I'm going to read that again from the top. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 7. Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke. So that thing is very, very crucial in this walk. You want to understand the situation. You want to understand where the breakdown came from, where the miscommunication came from. And if it's found out to be in a wicked spirit, then guess what? You bring the correction. Brothers will bring that type of a correction. But guess what? If you find out that it was just a misunderstanding, then you have to apologize for that thing, man. And guess what? And move forward. Just like Captain Maccabees is going over. Acknowledge what you did wrong. A lot of times our people do not want to acknowledge those things, man. That's the first step to true repentance. You want to confess that fault. You want to confess that sin. It says this is also even for good etiquette among dealing with one another. Verse 8, answer not before thou hast heard the cause, neither interrupt men in the midst of their talk. So this is something heavy. We know that this goes on even just the day-to-day conversations, man. Brothers and sisters get interrupted in their talk. Hey, guess what? It's our job to apply these scriptures, whether they be small matters or big matters. Because a lot of times small matters do what? Snowball into big matters. So we want to make sure we stamp out all this. Let's see. Let's go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 4 and verse 1. Yeah, the book of Ephesians, chapter 4 and verse 1. Remember, the book of Ephesians was written to who? To the Israelites that were scattered in Ephesus. So we understand the context. So don't let a damn wicked Christian or wicked apologetic tell you that this is going into other nations. No, this is going into the Israelites, man. We done touched on many classes going into that. So we ain't going to touch on that right now. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 1. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. So it's our job to do what? Walk worthy in this truth. Not having missteps. Hit that again. Okay. It says, I'm going to read that again from the top. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 1. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord. That's our job. It's our job to be prisoners of Yahushua. To be locked and bound in chains under him. Not up under wickedness, not up under sowing discourse with one another. It says, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called. Because we know our callings in this walk. Our calling in this walk is to be what? To be an example. To keep the Most High God's laws, statutes, commandments, to be the example first to ourselves, then to our intermediate family, then to guess what? To our nation, then to the world. That's the breakdown. It's literally showing you that it's our job to be an example. Brothers and sisters can't be that example if they're dealing in that type of spirit. That's not a good example to set, because the people that you be around, guess what? They're going to look to your example and then do what? Take on that same type of spirit. We see it countless times, man. Instead of you being the bigger person or being the spiritual person or the godly person you're supposed to be, and guess what? Correcting that brother or sister. You know, it says, verse 2, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, because we're going to have to suffer long in this truth. It said with lowliness. I mean, lowliness is what? Not being puffed up. Just because the Most High God gave you an understanding of certain precepts, you don't take that thing and run with it. You know, you take those things and apply it to your life, you know, to be the example. Because guess what? You may think those things are not going to come in handy soon, but the Most High God is going to send the Spirit your way and see how you deal with that spirit. Are you going to apply the scriptures, or are you going to fold? It says, verse 2 again from the top, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. A lot of times we don't forbear one another's in love. These are things that brothers and sisters still have to learn to apply to their spirit. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit in the bond of peace. Verse 3 is heavy, man. Because a lot of times brothers and sisters don't endeavor to keep unity of nothing. People endeavor to keep destruction going, to keep mess going. Because, like we say, our people have been brought up. You know how that mama used to do. Growing up, talking here, talking there, and you be right there listening. So now you know this about Auntie, you know this about Uncle, you know this about cousin, you know this about Granny and Papa, you know all those things, man. Instead of setting the example to, guess what? Go to that person, go to that brother, talk about those things, and guess what? Squash those things. That child just learned a what? A wicked habit. So now they take those things and guess what? They gonna go and do those things. So you never put out wickedness from Israel, man. We're not to be dealing like that, man. I'm going to read verse 3 again. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit in the bond of peace. That's one thing that we must have. We get enough flack amongst the other nations. When we come together as a nation of people, it's our job to have what? Peace among each other. You know? That's our job, man. That's why you see the Most High God, hey, you see, purge away a little bit. Purge away a little bit, man. You see these things because a lot of times brothers and sisters can't control their spirits, man. You see that a lot of times they don't like to take correction. They don't think that they need to seek counsel. They don't think that they in any kind of wrong, but then when it's found out, yeah, you was wrong, man. But how are you going to deal with that? You know? How you going to fall and then pick back up like the scripture said in the book of Proverbs? You know, a just man do fall 7 times, but guess what? You're going to rise back up again. That's the main thing. Don't ever think that you're too big to, guess what, receive correction. From the leaders on down to the members, man. We all need correction, man. Especially when we see one another going out. That's love according to the Bible, man. That's all that it is. Let's go back to Proverbs chapter 26, verse 19. I'm going to start at verse 20. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26 and verse 20. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. It says, as coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. So we know a lot of times you can tell that spirit of contention because there's always strife behind that thing. That's where you have to learn to apply that spirit of meekness and humbleness. That's the spirit you got to pray for. All these things, all these characteristics that the Most High God points out to us in the scriptures, they are also spirits that brothers and sisters have jumped on them. You know, that spirit of strife, that spirit of contention. Contention meaning you always got something going. It's never come to an agreement on anything. Brother say this, no, I'm going to say that. Now, you don't want to have that type of contention. Yes, we're going to have disagreements. Disagreeing and contention is going into 2 different things. A disagreement can be solved, but a contentious person, a lot of times those things can't be solved because then they're going to find another problem. That's what a contentious person do. Brothers and sisters got to shake that contentious spirit. It says, verse 22, it says, the words of a talebearer are as wounds, meaning a gossiper. Wounds is going into things that hurt you, like a brother may be cut with a knife. That's a wound. That thing hurt. It's comparing tale-bearing or gossiping to you getting a wound. Meaning what? Words you hurt. It says, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Not only when you say them on loud do it hit you fleshly, but it also hits you spiritually. That's what's going into the innermost parts of your belly. It's getting down deep, getting into your spirit. It's getting into your heart. Then a lot of times brothers and sisters do what? They meditate on that wickedness. Then they make brothers and sisters do what? Lash out. Especially if they're not applying the commandments. It make you want to secretly go and sow discourse. Well, she did that, such and such and such. So I'm going to do this. No, that's not how we're supposed to deal in this truth, man. Because a lot of times, like we said, it's always just a simple disagreement. I'm going to read that again from the top. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Burning lips and a wicked heart are like the potsherds covered with silver dross. Potsherds is going into a pot. Like I say, it's comparing all these things. All these things are similitudes. Burning lips is going into the wicked gossiping. A wicked heart is going into your spirit, going into your mind. Because like we say, in order to say those things, it starts first in your mind. Like I say, out of the mind proceed evil thoughts. It says, and are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hated disassemble with his lips. So brothers and sisters, this is how you know this is an Israelite book. It said he that hated. What do we always call our people? Man, you a hater. Man, why you always hating on me? I'm going to read that again. It says, he that hated disassemble with his lips. So brothers and sisters that are hating on one another, they disassemble with their lips. Meaning what? They cause discourse between brothers and sisters. And then try to get that brother not to like that brother because you don't like that brother. Man, that's wicked as hell, man. That's some wicked stuff. And we know a lot of times sisters deal in that type of spirit. But don't get me wrong, brothers deal in it too. But more often than sisters. Well, I'm not liking this sister today, sister. You don't like that sister too. Man, that's wicked as hell, man. And both of y'all gonna burn, man. If y'all don't get y'all spirits right. Like I always say, that's the blind leading the blind, man. Come on, man. How are we supposed to get our spirits right if we deal in that type of spirit? Brothers and sisters don't understand the magnitude of what's happening on the planet Earth, man. We out here literally being persecuted by the other nations. Why in the hell would we need to be persecuted by each other? And it makes no damn sense. That shows you where people's minds are. People, they may be in the truth, but people are not serious about the truth and about literally changing their minds and their spirits in this walk, man. I'm going to read that again. Verse 24, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26, verse 24. He that hated disassemble with his lips, meaning what? You cause division. It says, and laid up deceit within him. So now you done sold that deceit, now it's laid up in that brother or that sister to do what? To lash out. And that's how a lot of times wicked people want that thing too. Certain people's job is to pull people out of the spirit. But when you come into this truth, we ain't supposed to have that mind, that type of mind frame. It says, verse 25, when he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be shown before the whole congregation. That's the part that I wanted to get to. Sooner or later, brothers and sisters, if you're dealing in that type of spirit, the Most High God is going to reveal those things to the prophets. And guess what? It's going to be shown before the whole congregation, man. So brothers and sisters got to fix this type of spirit unless you want to be embarrassed, unless you want to be shamed in front of the whole congregation. And I ain't just talking about literal congregation, just in front of the whole world too. That's why I say we love how the Most High God word these things, because guess what? This thing applies to right now. Literally have to be stood up in front of a congregation and, brother, why was you dealing in that type of spirit? Sister, why was you dealing in that type of spirit? And a lot of times they can give no answer. Damn sure couldn't give a scripture. So we don't want to deal in these types of spirit, brothers and sisters. Like we say, let's move forward in this truth. Let's grow in this truth. Every day the Most High give us life to breathe in this truth. This is a day to grow in this truth, to get better. Reading more, understanding what our forefathers did, the righteous things and the wicked things that they did, and guess what? Knowing how to move. Especially, guess what? Knowing what they did in times of situations of wickedness. What did they do? Did they let that wickedness rule over them, or did they apply the scriptures? These are the things brothers and sisters should be always reading the scriptures for. How do I handle myself in this truth? How do I grow to that person that the Most High God want me to be? Or like we say, or your wickedness will be shown to the congregation, man. Let me say, with that, I hope brothers and sisters was edified. We always tell brothers and sisters to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, so we're going to bring out a law. We're going to go back to the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 16. It says, thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. So it's a job. Yes, it's laws concerning gossip. This is how you know that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites, man. Hey, we the ones that love the tea. You even see with Wendy Williams, she got a damn show that's all about gossip. You know? That's why the Most High God has literally gave us these laws, man. So we won't deal in these types of things, man, in these types of spirits. It says, thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. So we read these scriptures all the time, but guess what? You still hear it sometimes where brothers and sisters don't apply these things, man. Like we say, now you're going into what? Willfully sinning. That's a lot of times when brothers and sisters, they get the judgment. Hey, don't act like you don't know why, man. Don't act like it. Because you knew the truth and you chose not to do better. It says, thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. Neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. So we don't want to be dealing in this type of spirit, secretly sowing discourse among one another, Israel. Let the other nations do that thing, man. It's our job to come back as a nation of people, trying to seal up the 144,000, trying to seal up the 1/3 of the elect, and let's move forward in this truth, Israel. In the name of Yahweh and Yahweh shall say, Shalom.